Okay, chapter 3.1, ratios and rates. A ratio compares two things using division. Two things is two quantities. Quantities is like a number of things. It compares two things using division. Like 3 out of 5 people prefer breakfast as their favorite meal. 3 out of 5 can be written like this fraction, 3 out of 5 people, or it could be written 3 to 5 like that, or it can be written 3 to 5 like that. Now, typically, the fraction way is how we use it in math, but we may represent it this way on paper. But often we need the fraction to do something with it. 3 out of 5 people, it could be anything. That, say that our classroom has 12 people and 7 are boys, that would be 7 out of 12 are boys. 7 out of 10, 7 out of 12 are boys. 7 out of 12 people are boys in our class. And there's all kinds of ways to write ratios, but it compares two things. Okay. Now a rate is very similar, but it has different units. So that's the part we kind of have to pay attention to. And a lot of times rate sounds like speed, right? And a lot of times it is. It's not always. We're going to find out, but it could be, it often is, like 60 miles per 1 hour. You guys have heard of 60 miles an hour. Well, this is just a rate, and it looks like a ratio. Okay. If I were going 30 miles in 2 hours, this is also a rate. We have miles on top and hours on the bottom, so we're comparing different units, miles and hours. We're going to look at several examples here. Let's just look at example number 1. There are 45 males and 60 females in the subway car. There's 45 males and 60 females. Sorry, I got distracted. Now, this is like a fraction. It could be written 45 to 60, or 45 to 60 like that. 45 out of 60 or 45 to 60 is how you'd say it. This one could be simplified. 45, 60, and that's kind of one reason we keep it as a fraction, because we can see that it needs to be simplified. If we divide by 15, 15, 30, 45, so that goes in 3 times. And 15, 30, 45, 60, that goes in 4 times. So 45 60ths is the same as 3/4. So we could say 3 out of every 3 males and 4 females. For every 3 males, there are 4 males. That'd be another way to say that. The ratio of males to females is 3 to 4. Now this is not 3 out of 4, this is 3 to 4. So this is 3 males and 4 females. Just think about that for a minute. The subway car travels at 2.5 miles. It travels 2.5 miles in 5 minutes. 2.5 miles in 5 minutes. Okay. Now this is a ratio, and it's a rate, because we have different miles per minute, different units. Now I might want to double this one, just because I want it to be something that makes a little more sense, and I don't like to have my fraction here in a decimal form, and I change it to 5 miles in 10 minutes. Boy, I'm just distracted today. Sorry, guys. Okay, so what I did here is 2.5 times 2 is 5, and 5 times 2 is 10. I just multiplied by a factor of 1 because 2 over 2 is like multiplying by 1. But if I wanted to find out how many miles per 1 minute, I'd actually, this is called a unit rate. I want to find the unit would be in 1 minute instead of 10 minutes. So I'd end up actually having to divide by 10 everywhere. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So that's in 1 minute. And I'm always looking for a unit rate. How many miles per minute am I going? Now, I might actually want to look for miles per hour because that's something we're used to talking about. But 10 divided by 10 is 1. 5 divided by 10 is 0.5, or 1/2. So half a mile every minute. That's actually pretty fast. If we wanted to find out how many miles per hour that would be, we'd have to convert and change minutes into hours. And there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So I actually would want to multiply by 60 minutes in 1 hour, if that makes any sense. Our minutes cancel, and we end up with 60 times 0.5, which ends up being 30 miles, because miles didn't cancel and hours didn't cancel per 1 hour. Alright, so that might have been a little confusing, but the important part was to change to the unit rate. Down here, 0.5 miles in 1 minute. Okay. Sometimes we can use a table to find a rate, and that's what the example 2 is about. They're talking about distance in miles. And then we're also talking about money, or dollars. Okay. And the first one they have down is 2 over 24. And then they have 4 over 48. And then 6 over 72. 8 over 96. And they want us to find your unit rate in dollars per mile. The table shows the amount of money you can raise by walking for a charity. Okay, so we're going to just start with the first one, the change in the money. All right, so they want you to notice that this changes by adding 24. 24 plus 24 is 48, and we can do that again, and we can do that again, and it keeps working. Then the change up here is just by adding 2. By adding 2. So every time we change, we add 2 more. So our money per mile walked, we're looking at find your unit rate in dollars per mile. And since we're looking for per mile, we're actually going to put the miles on the bottom. Okay, and the change in money is $24 over the distance every 2 miles, which means if we were to go 1 mile, we'd get half as much, which is $12. So it's $12 per mile. Now we actually could get the same answer by doing almost anything. So we said that was the change. That's what we said, which is the true. 24 is our change, and 2 is our change. But if we notice that our first one was 24 and 2, if we took our second one, $48 for 4 miles, and I just put that down as a fraction, and I divided by 4. 4 times 12 is 48. So if I divided by 4, I'd get 12, and if I divided by 4 on the bottom, I'd get 1, which is the same thing. So whether we're talking about change in money, change in distance, and we put that as a ratio, or we just actually compare them, and we can get the same answer either way. So sometimes you think there's only one way to do it, and you find out it works several ways. The problem is that you can also decide that one way is right and the other way is wrong, and you might have to test it out to see what's true. Okay, so just work your problems like that. That's it for this video.